Today, we are diving into something called the Anti-Gaslighting Script. Think of it as a powerful tool for reclaiming your sense of reality when you feel like it's being hijacked, twisted, or just debated out of existence. So let's start with what is probably the most striking truth of this entire approach. And it's a complete reversal of our natural instincts. We always assume that if we just find the perfect explanation, the one undeniable fact, that'll finally make someone see the truth. But here's the thing. In these high-pressure dynamics, that very instinct is the trap. Your own biological drive to be understood, to be fair, is actually used against you. It turns your words into a roadmap for your own psychological capture. The goal here isn't to win the argument, it's to shut down the court entirely. I want you to really think about this question, because I bet it's a feeling many of us have had. You walk into a conversation with total clarity on what you experienced, but after round of defending, justifying, and explaining, you walk away feeling foggy, exhausted, and somehow wrong, even when you know you were right. So why does that happen?
Well, that whole experience points to the core paradox of what we're going to call linguistic sovereignty. It's this super counterintuitive idea that your own words, your very desire to connect and be understood, can be used to build a cage around you. It's that light bulb moment when you realize that true power in these situations doesn't come from a better argument. No, it comes from strategic silence and what are known as low information responses. And these are pretty much the only weapons that can shut down a reality hijack instantly.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit the explainer's paradox. Then we'll decode the verbal cage. After that, we'll get into the three-step anti-gaslighting script. Then we'll cover the power of indifference, your cognitive defense system, and we'll end with the crucial choice, certainty over validation. All right, let's dive in. Let's start with this fundamental contradiction. See, our brains are wired for connection, right? So we believe that more communication is going to lead to more clarity. But in these specific dynamics, the exact opposite is true. More talking, more explaining, it just gives the other person more raw material to twist and use against you.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. These reality hijacks happen in very real-world situations. I mean, think about high-conflict workplace negotiations, where jargon and word salads are used to completely avoid accountability. Or what about enmeshed family systems, where one person gets labeled the scapegoat and is forced to constantly defend her own sanity? And of course, it happens in controlling romantic partnerships, where a person's logic is just perpetually under attack to keep them off balance.
To escape a cage, you first have to understand how it's built. So in this section, we are going to name the specific mechanisms that create that feeling of being verbally trapped, exhausted, and just plain confused. The first result of these interactions is something called verbal exhaustion. And this isn't just about feeling tired of arguing. It is a profound, bone-deep physical and mental drain. And it happens because you are operating in good faith. You're treating what is basically a verbal attack as if it's a legitimate conversation. You're over there trying to build a bridge while the other person is systematically dismantling the foundation. That constant, fruitless effort, that's what creates this deep, deep fatigue. So what keeps you locked in that exhausting cycle? Well, it's the psychological hook of validation hunger. This is that deeply human but ultimately mistaken belief that if you could just find the perfect sequence of words, the flawless explanation, then the other person would finally see the light and admit the truth. That hope, that hunger for validation, is the fuel that keeps this toxic engine running. And that validation hunger leads you directly into something called the JADE effect. It's an acronym for the 4 things you find yourself doing on a loop: justifying your actions, arguing your point, defending your character, and explaining your reasoning. And you get so caught up in this JADE cycle that the whole focus shifts. You actually start to believe that the real problem isn't their manipulation, but your own inability to explain things clearly enough. So because of this, you have to make a fundamental mental shift. Just look at the 2 columns here. You have to recognize that you are not in an active dialogue where the goal is mutual truth and you assume good faith. You have to switch your entire operating system to passive refusal. In this mode, your goal is not truth, it's preserving your own sanity. The method isn't more communication, it's strategic silence. And you absolutely must operate from the assumption of a bad faith interaction.
Okay, now that we've kind of diagnosed the problem and the mindset shift you need to make, let's pivot to the actual solution. This is a 3-step strategy, a sequence of behaviors designed to shut down the dynamic and let you reclaim your cognitive space.
Here are the 3 steps. First is the informational fast, where you simply stop giving them new information to use against you. Second is the nonlinear response, where you stop arguing about facts and start narrating the discrepancy between your realities. And third is the sovereign exit, where you just accept that disagreement is the final state of the conversation and you end it. Now let's look a little closer at the most critical step. Okay, this is the most counterintuitive and honestly, the most powerful part of the script. Let's say someone insists, "You never told me about that meeting." Your instinct is a linear response, right? You argue the fact, "Yes, I did. I told you on Tuesday." But a nonlinear response refuses to engage on that level of fact. Instead, you narrate the difference in your realities. You say something like, "I hear that you remember it that way. I remember it differently." See, you're not arguing, you're just stating a discrepancy. You are refusing to enter their courtroom.
So to successfully execute that script when you're under pressure, you need more than just the words. You need a new internal mindset. You actually have to rewire your own motivation from desperately seeking validation to calmly preserving your autonomy.
This mindset is called operational indifference. Now, this is not about being cold or cruel, it's a strategic, internal state of detachment. You are consciously protecting your own reality behind a wall of these low-information responses. And when you do this, their confusing word salad and circular arguments, they become completely ineffective. There's nothing for them to grab onto. It's like you've become emotional Teflon. And this right here shows the incredible shift in the power dynamic. Their goal is what's called interpretive dominance. They want to be the sole author of reality. Their primary weapon is your deep-seated need for validation. But when you adopt your new goal, cognitive autonomy, the right to your own mind, you deploy a new weapon, your operational indifference. And that weapon completely neutralizes theirs. All right, let's get even more practical. How do you actually start building this defense system in your daily life? Well, it all starts with awareness. You need tools to help you recognize the pattern as it's happening, not just hours later when you're replaying it in your head.
Here is a super powerful diagnostic tool for you, the explanation audit. Just ask yourself this about your interactions. Is the demand for clarity a one-way street? Are you constantly the one explaining, clarifying, and justifying while the other person gets to remain vague and unaccountable? If the answer is yes, you have to recognize that more talking is not leading to clarity, it's simply feeding the dynamic.
So once you're aware, you need some tools for the moment. And these are your anchor statements. The key here is to have a few preset low-information phrases ready to go. This way, your brain doesn't have to invent a response during a stressful verbal ambush. Practice them. We'll have to agree to disagree. I'm not going to debate my experience. That is your interpretation. These phrases don't add any fuel to the fire, they just calmly and firmly end the debate.
And that brings us to the final, and I think, most important lesson of this entire framework. It is a fundamental shift in what you seek from human interaction. It's a move from an external locus of control to a fiercely protected internal one.
I want you to let this one sink in. Validation is a luxury, but certainty is a necessity. Look, we all want to be understood. It's a wonderful feeling. But in a reality hijack situation, you have to be willing to let go of the luxury of validation in order to hold on to the absolute necessity of your own certainty. You must learn to trust your perception, your memory, your sanity, even if no one else co-signs it.
And that, right there, is the ultimate freedom. Your truth doesn't need an external witness to be real. Your experience is valid simply because you experienced it. The cycle of verbal exhaustion is broken the exact moment you realize you don't have to win the case. You can just walk out of their courtroom and be free.
In the end, the anti-gaslighting script teaches us that the most dangerous cages are often made of questions and demands for explanation. Reclaiming your cognitive autonomy begins with one powerful declaration. Your mind is a private territory, and you are its sole sovereign.